Yes, This song is called Be the Change, inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who lived for peace and not violence, and told us to be the change we wish to see in the world.
Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. We are recording this on, oh my God, Ramon, it's October already? October 6th of 2014. And, man, the time is flying so fast, my head is spinning. So, Ramon, I just went to ECETI last weekend. We went and saw that the presentations there by Nate and Spencer and Neil Kramer. And actually, they did a pretty darn good job of showing people a little bit about and teaching people a little bit about what sovereignty really is and how it interfaces with the system that's in place on this planet right now. And there's actually I was really impressed with the framework that they laid out. It was simple enough that anybody could understand it and could walk away from that conference and the talks and go, wow, there really is something here. I mean, it didn't give you the tools to go out and, you know, like the big thing is for like the A for V, right? Where people, you know, sign a piece of paper and their house is paid off. You know, they don't give you the kind of tools to just walk right out of there and do that, but they give you a foundation that kind of puts you in a place where you understand how you can do that, how you can stand on your own ground and be in the right with doing this stuff. So anyways, it was a good show. The weather was gorgeous, and I didn't do much sky watching, but Greg Sullivan and his crew from Japan, from JSETI, were also there, and I had a chance to talk with him for a little bit, and they actually went out and did their protocols and showed back up over there at ECETI at 4 o'clock in the morning, and Greg told me that they saw some pretty impressive stuff at 4 o'clock in the morning there, so.
Yeah. You know, I never saw it, but I remember hearing some people talk about that they seen dragons there before at ECETI.
Really?
Yeah, I remember hearing that. I don't know how true that is or not. But a while back, I think over a year ago, I might have mentioned it on the show. I was taking a hot bath, and I had this vision of seeing this black dragon. It was real brief, real quick, and I couldn't say anything more, but I just saw like the head and the neck, and it was just brief like that. So, and there's a reason why I'm telling this story. Tom?
Just give me 1 second, Ramon. If you would go ahead and carry this, I've got somebody at the door, believe it or not. I'm recording out of a hotel room.
Oh, you see.
I will be right back.
So, you know, our guest coming up is just absolutely amazing. Put together some stories of dragons and, you know, dragons frozen in time. 2 monks out of the year, like I think it's 1000, talk about also dragons and just different experiences of other people with dragons. So you're really gonna enjoy this show.
Oh, I'm back, by the way. Wow.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I spoke a little bit.
Hazard of being in a motel room and doing a show.
Yeah.
So, are we ready to roll on here, Ramon?
Yeah, you can introduce. I didn't say the bio.
Okay.
You can bring
Well, we've got a treat for you guys tonight. We've got Russell Chen with us. And Russell's been a researcher within the metaphysical and spiritual realm for over 25 years. Although his studies have brought him into many subjects surrounding the idea of metaphysical reality, consciousness, and alternative history, he has become captivated by the irresistible lure and enormous implications of dragon encounters and the reality of their presence throughout Earth's history. When a chance encounter with a benevolent rainbow dragon sends him down the proverbial rabbit hole of exploits, Russell discovers fascinating truths about these legendary beings that undermine prevailing notions of their history. This experience eventually sets him on a path to gather modern-day tales of dragon encounters in hopes of bringing the mystery to life. And I would like to welcome Russell Chen to the 100th Monkey Radio.
Thanks for having me on, Tom and Ramon. A pleasure to be on the show.
Oh man, this is a topic that actually Ramon and I have touched on a couple times here in the last couple of years, Ramon, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, let me throw his website out real quick before we get rolling, and you guys can kind of play along on the internet. His website is messagesfromthedragonrealm.com.
Yeah. Just the whole dragon thing. I remember the first time I met this girl in a club close to 20 years ago, and she had said to me, the dragons will be waking up soon. And she said she had like a very strong druid background, and her family, really follow those things. So it's just amazing that ever since then, I've just been hearing more and more, little by little, about them. So
my whole everything I knew about dragons, which isn't very much.
Yeah.
All came out of the mythologies that I happened to read during researching other items, and of course, the Hollywood version. Everybody's seen the Hollywood versions of the dragons. But the famous, the Camelot stuff, and the very lightly some of the Oriental dragons, and actually some of the celebrations that happen over in the Orient that venerate the dragon or use the dragon as a key component in their ceremonies has always fascinated me. I just thought that they do just such a fantastic job with their dragons over there. But besides that, when I've never really deeply felt into dragons until last year, when we had help me, Ramon, Deborah Jacobs on.
Yeah. And
when we had Deborah on, I actually took it to meditation, and I felt some really interesting energy there. And for lack of a better term, and I couldn't verify it within myself that this was a dragon energy, but it was something that a type of energy that I had not sensed before. So, anyways.
Yeah. I'll post a picture that I took to we're like jabbing on and not talking to Russ. Some pictures of these cloud type dragons. It was like several of them, and if you look at the pictures, they're clouds, but they look like dragons.
Yeah, I've got a few of those myself. Yeah.
Anyway, Russell, why dragons? What sparked your interest in dragons?
Well, let me just say that dragons have never been a big part of my life before these encounters began. And unlike the contributors of my book, I do not profess to be able to see and communicate with dragons. A square peg in a round hole in this situation, if you will. And it seemed obvious that I was treading on unfamiliar territory. But little did I know that I was about to awaken to the dragon realms very shortly. So this all started about 4 years ago when I brought my friend Solantra King on a scouting trip to Tabo Hill. This place is a location of the world's longest crystal ridge, right next to the city of Kuala Lumpur. It's a geological marvel frequented by hikers because of its steep terrain. Now, before I go into this adventure, let me just give you a bit of background on Salantra. She's a spiritual teacher and a light worker extraordinaire who is both fearless and humble. And she has been on some of the most incredible journeys I've ever heard of. In Kashmir, she retrieved Moses' staff from his tomb to return to the Syrians. She collected a great cosmic egg from the Queen's chamber in the Great Pyramid of Giza. In India, an ancient yogi who has been meditating beneath the earth for 1,000 years. I actually contacted her telepathically to borrow her body to complete a mission. And in the jungles of Mexico, she encountered a hostile assailant who came after her with a machete. She confronted him head-on by speaking some power words, and in an instant, she was teleported out of danger. So, and he was seen screaming, running the other direction shortly. So I would consider her to be sort of like a modern-day spiritual female Indiana Jones.
Wow.
Yeah, somebody you should have on your show.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get the information from you after the show.
Right.
So
Salantra recognizes Ridge as a site of an ancient Lemurian temple and also a dimensional gateway. Now, one does not just stumble into a dimensional gateway freely, as it is always guarded by a powerful being, a being which we were about to encounter very shortly. So we climbed up the hill, and I appeared halfway 15 minutes after Salantra had arrived. She looked at me with a hint of a smile and said, "Hey, Russell, take another 30 steps ahead. There's a rainbow dragon resting there." And I looked at her dumbfounded and said, "Are you for real?" I moved ahead cautiously, not knowing what to expect. And when I arrived at the spot, what appeared on my right was a huge boulder that resembled the head of a dragon, some sort like maybe 6 feet in height. It had a peculiar shape that clearly displayed eyes, nostrils, and a mouth etched on its structure. And I also noticed multicolored lines running across the exterior. So Salantra indicated that this was a benevolent rainbow dragon, and she wields great healing powers. This female dragon told her that she's the guardian of the dimensional doorway, and she wished to take us on an inner journey. I had no idea what that meant, but what came to my mind was a film I had seen as a teen called The Never Ending Story. Have any of you seen it?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Right. So, a boy who went on a quest with a fluffy white dragon. So I mention this because you will understand how it is related to an incident that I will get into later on. So we sat there next to the dragon head to meditate, and Salantra pointed out that this was a good opportunity for me to clear and balance my lower energy centers, because she noticed that I was carrying a soul memory wound from a past incarnation as a Tibetan monk, sometime during the rule of Genghis Khan. And I had suffered a very violent death under a warrior who speared his weapon right through me. And she assisted with healing by toning sound codes, and what I felt was very light bubbles popping inside of me, usually a familiar feeling that occurs at healing sessions. So when she was done, she described seeing my lower chakras spinning along nicely, and for her, the dragon assisted her to anchor her multidimensional self more deeply into her 3D body. And when it was completed, we thanked the dragon and we made our descent downhill. That night, when I looked up the area on Google Maps, I was actually startled to see the satellite view of the lake was shaped in the form of a dragon. The dragon's head, where we sat next to, was positioned exactly on the spot of the dragon's head from the satellite photo.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I have a photo of this image, which I can email you guys later.
Yeah, that would be perfect. We'll post that on the page.
Yeah, so the following day, Solantra asked if I wanted to join her for a trip to Tioman Island. This is in the east coast of Malaysia. And she said a dragon on one of the islands had requested her presence. She couldn't provide more details, only that it will be revealed when we got there. I actually came across a story about a dragon who resides on the twin peaks of the island called the Dragon's Horn. And according to local legend, a dragon princess went on its way from China to Singapore for her wedding and decided to take a rest on the island. And captivated by the beauty of her surroundings, she decided not to continue on the journey and made it her final resting place. But the truth wasn't as rosy as the legend, as we were to discover. And when we arrived at the island, Solantra said she felt the rumbling pain of the dragon. And the dragon had told her that she had absorbed an atomic bomb from the times of nuclear warfare during the Rama civilization. And she needed help to transmute it, otherwise this place could experience a great catastrophe. At that time, I didn't know much about ancient nuclear warfare, but later I read that there were these wars described in the Mahabharata,
right,
the great Indian epic. And I also read about Russian scientists who reported archaeological sites in India where human skeletal remains were found to have radioactive traces 50 times from the normal levels. And the other interesting piece of information I came across was a French company importing uranium ore from the Gabon Republic in South Africa, during which the 70s they found remnants of a large-scale, highly advanced nuclear reactor site where uranium had been extracted. So scientists gathered at this place to investigate, and they discovered the site actually existed some 2 billion years ago and was operating for about 500,000 years. And it is so advanced that they could not be able to build a reactor like this with even today's technology.
Wow.
And so we rested for the night, and we hiked some 2 hours the next morning to reach this spot where the dragon told us to stop at. We lay down on a large boulder that had an overcast rock above us, and we went into meditation to help relieve her of the burden. 30 minutes later, she thanked us for our assistance and said that it was time for us to leave so that she could rest. And that night, the sky poured heavily, and to us, it was a physical sign that indicated that much clearing had occurred for her. And the following morning, Solantra said the dragon had paid her a visit in the inner realms to give her a precious gem. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the precious gem? It was something in the dream state, I'm assuming, or astral?
Yes, in the dream, in the astral, in the inner realms.
You know what I found amazing, and I can't remember which chapter it was, where talking about, interacting with dragons and the different species, but to also always use not caution wasn't the word, discernment.
Discernment, correct.
And I found that amazing because a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, anybody will help you, but and that's not to approach it with fear. And of course, seeing a dragon that maybe its eyes the size of your body can scare anybody, but I think a lot of people jump onto things without really using their discernment. The same with channeling.
Right.
It could be, pulled the wrong way. So I just found that amazing that was in there, that the majority of dragons are beautiful beings, but you have this small percent that is not the same as
same as humans, right?
Not only
Yeah,
humans,
I mean
but
every
saying that
other
about
race,
other cultures, other cultures
Yeah.
and other planets as well.
There's
Right.
both sides. There's two sides to every coin. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're all part of God's beautiful creatures. Nobody calls a lion an evil lion, right?
Right.
It is. I think it is the people who control the dragons and they turn them into the dark, sinister beings that they have, become known to be.
Right. So well, that brings up another question. How would one control a dragon? I mean, it can't be something that just, I can't imagine it's a very simple procedure. Or are you familiar with how to control a dragon? How do these people gain control of a dragon?
What I do know is about riding dragons. And in riding dragons, it is not about controlling the dragon, but being one with the dragon. Not so much of a master-servant role, but one of respect. To be one with the dragon, and so you can ride it. And in that unity, both beings are able to serve. But I'm not too familiar on how the Dark Lords have been able to control the dragons.
Right.
Well,
that's probably a good thing.
Right. I would assume it is like, what people do with, caging animals and training them to do their bidding and whatnot.
Right. So have we got stories here of third dimensional dragons here? In some of the old mythologies that I've ran across, it really does sound like they were actual physical beings that existed alongside us here on the planet, not fourth dimensional or fourth or fifth or above dimensional entities that use their energy to interact with third dimension and mankind. So have you run across stories of the physical dragons?
From what I know, they are mainly fifth dimension and above, but sometimes they're able to lower their vibration a little bit to meet us sort of halfway when they want to reveal themselves to us. There is this incident with Cynthia Sue Larson. I believe she's been on your show.
Yes, absolutely, a couple times. Beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
So she is actually one of the contributors of the book, and it's amazing, the experience that she has had. And during one of the moments when she was questioning whether if the experience was real, a dragon had actually poked its head out from her bedroom and reached out with its tongue to lick her hand. And it flicked her hand up some 2 feet high, and she felt the scratchiness of its texture. And her hand dropped down when it retracted its tongue. So, yeah, that's quite a bit of awesome information there.
Right.
Yeah, next time she comes on the show, we gotta get into detail with her.
Definitely.
We didn't talk. She didn't mention that one.
Yeah, we didn't go over that one at all. That's interesting.
Yeah, is that one of the early chapters?
No, that's the last chapter actually.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Chapter 9. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a picture I saw and on Google, because when I was reading your book, I was checking, and there's one that It's called Dragon Frozen in Ice, and it looks like a claw, the hand of a dragon. But you talk about, in the book, there's these different types of dragon, and there's the one dragon frozen in time. Can you tell us about that one?
All right. That one actually begins in the very first chapter. Miranda wrote her from North America. Was strolling through a park one day with her husband when she stumbled upon a dozen or so fairies in a path. And they led her to this area where there was a huge rock formation, and upon closer inspection, she realized that it was a dragon vertebrae. Suddenly, a voice spoke out, and she identified herself as a dragon who had been waiting for a very long time for someone who could hear her and to tell her story. And their story is one that is rich with the secrets of dragon histories. And we learn many surprising facts about dragon anatomy, dragon consciousness, and their way of life. For example, the species of dragon she encountered actually had 4 sets of wings, the largest being those that we are accustomed to seeing. And the middle pair is actually attached to the middle of the back. So these wings, they contain a communication-like system. The smaller set of wings has been misinterpreted from histories as gills, but they are not gills. Set directly under the jaw. What they do is they fan out upon command, signaling dragon presence. And it sends vibrations and frequencies that can actually catapult forth a blast of light, a force that is similar to that of a bolt of lightning. And the third set of wings is located under the large middle wings, very thin and seemingly translucent. They have the capabilities of activating crystalline structures. And the fourth set of wings is the very large ones in the center of the body, but shaped very differently. And it enables their large bodies to be extremely capable of refined, determined movements, kind of like a F-1 fighter jet.
Right. So, what is the role of dragons within our cosmos, within our at least our experience here in 3D? I mean, they've played a tremendous role throughout history. I mean, they're in every culture, on every continent. There's some mythology about dragons, and the lore always seems to have, at least at the very least, they have the story with the morals within it. So, what role have you, through all the research that you've done, what is your understanding of the role of the dragon here on planet Earth?
So the impact of dragons have had on our evolution is actually a story that has seldom been told. They were the primordial forces of nature which oversaw creation, and they forged the crystalline grid by linking the crystals beneath the earth as she was taking form. Crystals are electromagnetic in nature, and when the crystal grid was linked up, it wrapped a magnetic field around the earth, which attracted moisture. And this created an environment for life to flourish on Earth. But there were these other lesser beings from other dimensions, such as Zeta Reticuli, who controlled armies of dragons, and they wanted to assume control of this planet. And so a great war was fought between the light and the dark, and ultimately light prevailed. So, what I've come to discover about dragons is that under that tough exterior, they actually hold much love and compassion for humanity, and they wish to connect with us. But until we learn to exist in unity consciousness, they will not reveal themselves. And I believe this is also similar to the non-interference directive of the star beings. It's been said that Earth has gone through many cycles of birth and creation, and we've learned that we've become very good at blowing ourselves up after each cycle. And so the powers that be decided to do things a little differently this time. And they introduced star seeds, and dragons had also incarnated into human form to help elevate the consciousness of humanity. And this was an attempt to level the playing field against the dark beings who have had a great influence on humanity's destiny for a very long time.
That was good. You that was my next question. Dragons incarnating into human form.
So, you read your mind.
Yeah, I guess so. So what about these? I was a big sci-fi fantasy reader, and all the Dragonlance books. I don't know if you're familiar with those or not, but the Forgotten Realms series of books. They're some fantastic fantasy work, and there's dragons within those that can take the form. They can go back and forth. They can morph from dragon to human and back again. And I am just curious about what kind of presence they have here on the planet in the form of human.
Right. Well, one very good example would be Solantra, because she, when I had asked her to pen a chapter for the book, I had no idea of her true identity. And it was only a year later that when I found out that she is actually a dragon princess that had been incarnated as a human. Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, I know that right now, especially right now on the planet, there are so many amazing beings that are incarnating here to be here and play their part in this drama that we have going on here. And we've touched on just about everything you can think of, from fairies and gnomes now all the way to dragons, right? And there is from the third dimensional perspective, looking in on this stuff, the closed-minded, judgmental mindset that's out there in society right now, they look at this sort of thing and go, baloney, baloney, baloney. But when you start really opening yourself up to different energies and different vibrations and different experiences that go along with those things, you start encountering some of this stuff that is the best explanation is calling it dragon, or calling it fairies, or calling it elf, or calling it gnome, or archon, or the full spectrum of mythological creatures that we can attach these names and these we have these figures that we actually will see in our mind's eye.
And that reminds me, sorry Tom, really quickly, it reminds me of this, how they put a picture and they write something on it on Facebook, and one was like, it says, when someone called me delusional, I almost fell off my unicorn.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Well, Tom, let me just get back to this topic about dragons incarnating into human forms, because there is a chapter by Araya Anwar, who lives in France. She brought out some very interesting information about them. And how this all started for her is that when she was meditating one day, she found herself transported to the bottom of the ocean in Peru. And she was staring at this huge eyelid of a dragon. This water dragon identified herself as one of the 12 primordial dragons that had agreed to establish the first layer of form around the Earth. And they reside within the tectonic plates of the Earth's structure, with the spines and tails running along the border zones of countries. I mean, these dragons are just huge. And they're divided between the 4 elemental dragons. You have the earth, water, air, and fire, both male and female, and also the black and white male and female dragons. For example, the male and the female dragons reside in the active volcanoes of the planet. The male is stretched through the western U.S. and Canada, with its heart located under Yellowstone National Park, and its tail stretching all the way through Central America. And the female extends through most of Indonesia islands, her heart underneath Sumatra, and her tail extending all the way through the Himalayas. And the interesting information that she shared was about the children and the dragon army returning. And she highlights this group of children who have been tasked with reawakening the dragon energies on the planet. Right now, most of them are between the ages of 15 and 17, scattered throughout the world. And they're highly tuned into the presence of dragons. They can speak and write dragon languages, and they love to draw them. And she, while speaking to the parents of these teens, she discovered distinct similarities in the information that children were sharing with them about their own dragons. And each of them is very clear about what their individual dragon looks like, the things they can do, and even their name. And they refer to channels or pathways opening up around the planet through which the dragons can now travel freely. They say this was why the dragons were now able to sit in their backyards rather than just be present energetically. And in other words, they are able to feel the presence more tangibly. And the other interesting mention was the army of dragons that was actually rising to help heal the earth. And this army is mainly comprised of these awakened and attuned children who have stayed totally conscious on their journey of who they are and why they are here. And they are here to shift the layers of destiny held within, the layers of density still held within the 3D world, so that the higher vibrations can be anchored within. And also adults who are dragon keepers and dragon hearts, many of them their parents. They hold dragon energies with them as embodiers. The dragon hearts and the dragon keepers are physical embodiers of of dragons on the planet, and they actually have taken human form, and they carry the lineage of the dragons with them within their DNA coding. And these individuals, they hold the energetic presence of actual dragons that have been sleeping up until now, either in their spine or in their heart. And those with a sleeping dragon are known as dragon keepers. When their dragons begin to awaken, they often go through several months of odd or unexplainable spine trauma of some type. And it usually manifests as strange pains unrelated to a specific injury. And once this dragon is released, the person tends to experience heightened levels of progress on the spiritual journey. And besides carrying their own high levels of vibration, these parents also play a pivotal role, and they've been conscious enough to allow the children to stay connected and not to move into forgetfulness that most of us have had to experience and struggle to pull ourselves out of. So together they are here to herald the shift of humanity's evolution into the new age.
It's amazing. You know, I guess a question that did pop into my mind when I look at this whole thing, the whole idea of the dragons and the dragon energies and that entity or those entities embodying themselves here on the planet, and or being within the fifth, sixth, and beyond dimensions, that the energy that they are, the entity that they are, I'm curious if that same energy when seen from a different set of eyes, from a different paradigm, would appear as a different sort of being. So, you know, when I look at some of these mythological creatures that people have brought back to life here on the planet, the dragons included, say fairies, unicorns, you know, the dwarf king under the mountain, you know, all these different types of entities carry a certain energy with them that embodies their purpose and what they're here to do, and the properties that entity possesses and what they can bring to the planet. And I guess the question I have here, and I don't know that you're going to be able to answer this or not, is that could that same dragon that one person sees as a dragon also appear as an angel to another person?
Well, the thing about dragons is they are great at shape-shifting. And it is not only their physical appearance. And some of these authors, the way they have explained it is, you know, under that tough-looking exterior, this actually sends a being of love and compassion there.
Right. Well, you know, that even lends more weight to the idea that I have here of it appearing the way that you're able to accept it. You know, and I've seen this in a lot of different areas with a lot of different people, that when they do get to a place through whatever path that they happen to be on, a certain archetypical type of energy, it's time for that energy to make itself known to a person. And let's say that they're on a more of a traditional, westernized, you know, angels and demons type path. So that warrior type spirit would appear to them as, say, Archangel Michael. And within the dragon mythology, we'd have one of the great, you know, fiery red dragons that appear as the warrior spirit. Do you get what I'm saying here? Do you understand what I'm trying to?
Right. Yeah. I think the dominant energy in people's mind has been focused on the dark side of dragons for far too long.
Oh, yeah.
And this lust for power and dominance also reflects much of the chaos that we are experiencing today. And so the dragons are actually here to remind us that we are each a beautiful, powerful being. And there really is no need to step on anyone to prove our power. And instead, they ask us to bring truth, fairness, and order into our lives. And I've since learned that dragons, they are multidimensional beings of light that exist in unity consciousness. And they're governed by the law of one. And they're here to remind us that we too are multidimensional beings. And they are here to assist us to awaken to our true nature. They possess this crystalline-based structures, which is what we are transforming into, from carbon-based to crystalline-based. And what this actually means is that we too will be vibrating at the higher crystalline frequencies of the fifth dimensional being way of being in future.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying there, and to a certain extent agree 100% with you.
All right. And, you know, the other part is also the power of dragons are immense, which naturally also instills fear for some when connecting with two dragons. But this fear has been about the unconscious fear of the raw power of dragon energy, because they hold the primal power of the sacred feminine, the serpent force that is untamable and so often feared. But once any fears and misunderstandings are set aside, we can actually begin to work with them to reawaken the divine feminine energies within us all.
Yeah, well, that's something we're definitely lacking here on this planet, is a balance between the two.
Right.
And, I think that's where our path is ultimately heading, is that balance between the two.
All right. And I think this also goes to explain why this book is almost entirely written by women. Something that I had not planned for. But the one common quality that I notice among these women is that they are amazing forces of nature, which doesn't really surprise me, because most of them happen to be dragons incarnated into human forms. And one of the authors had shared a memory of being speared through her heart when she was a dragon, and she had felt a painful stab on her heart when she tried to access that memory.
So in the research that you've done,
it's I think humans.
Go ahead, Ramon.
There was like a delay there.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
You heard that like a few.
That's got to be that wonderful connection I have here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Yeah, there's like a bit of a delay. So, one of the things with dragons, it seems not only dragons, but just anything that's different, humans have a tendency to misunderstand it and judge it and fear it and attack it. But one thing I heard about dragons, that they would sometimes cleanse the land if there was like a blight or a disease amongst certain plants. They would burn it in order to cleanse it, and that would be misunderstood by humans. Did you come across any of those kind of stories?
Yeah, I think Cynthia, she has shared some pretty interesting information about that. And this has to do with mediating some volcanic seismic activity with some earth dragon guardians. What happened was that she had actually observed two serpentine dragons that were speeding along the ring of fire. And she could feel that, there was a huge earthquake on the onset. And she had tried to contact these two dragons to try to mediate this earthquake from becoming too violent. And when she contacted these two fast-moving serpents, they were still very focused on what they were doing, and they never stopped. So a day after the discussions, a series of large earthquakes actually occurred in the low population area in Alaska. And so the dragons are actually playing a major role now with the earth changes, and because they created the energies on earth to be inhabitable by humans a long time ago, and they're here again to create the changes that are happening now. We are the conspiralists, we are so quick to blame HARP for the many turbulent disasters that have occurred. But the reality is that we too are responsible for them, because the tectonic plates, they hold much negative energies that emanate from us, and they're deposited into the faults, which affect the grids, the volcanoes, and other places. But if the grids were in harmony, then the tectonic plates will be in balance, and we wouldn't be experiencing too much of this turbulent disasters.
Right. Oh, I agree with that 100%. Yeah. I've just you know, people talk about how solar flares affect us, and you know how when a big flare goes off, that you know, look out, or even the moon, you know, the influences that these things have on us. Well, I kind of see it the other way around. You know, I see these solar flares going off, and all this traumatic solar activity that we're having is a reflection of what's going on with humanity. I mean, we're projecting this stuff onto the planet and into our experience, and it's just responding to our collective, to the you know, the collective consciousness of life here on this planet. Yeah.
Absolutely, I'm with you on this.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned, was it Solarantra that had mentioned that she had been speared as a dragon in a previous life, or was that one of the other writers?
Yeah, she is a dragon in a previous lifetime, correct.
So that kind of makes me feel that leads me to the assumption that they were at one point a common, or not necessarily common, but at least a known manifested incarnated entity on this planet. Is that correct?
Well, the history of dragons is most of them had come from different star systems. Places like Draco, Vega, Altair, and Ophiuchus. And most of them have actually volunteered to come to Earth to oversee our evolution on the planet.
Right. So, but for what you know, we've never had an actual race of dragons on that lived and died on planet Earth in third dimension.
They actually were, because in the beginning there were the dragon beings, the reptilian beings, and the serpentine beings. They came to build the crystalline grid. And there was a channeling session. I can't remember who it was with again. Probably Solantra or Ray Chandran, one of the authors. And he had actually brought 2 months ago, Ray was here with the Japanese group, and we went to this dragon island where the Council of Dragons met. And he gave me an intriguing message from there, and it began a long, long time ago in a galaxy very far, far away. There lived a couple who had just had their firstborn delivered. And now the husband was torn between his responsibility to his wife and the children. And his mission was to assist the dragons to establish a grid system of crystalline energy on Earth. And he made the difficult choice of coming to Earth. And this information was actually given to me by a dragon on the island. And never would I have expected that in a billion years, that wife that I had abandoned at that time turns out to be the woman that I'm about to marry.
Wow. Amazing.
And so when this book began, I wasn't sure what all this meant with the dragons. And so they came to remind me that in many lives I had been part of their experience as a dragon master, and I had helped them to build the crystalline grids on this planet and also on other places.
Wow. So we mentioned before the show, I mentioned that I was pretty surprised to see that there were, or to hear that there had been dragons in Mu. And I mean that the information we have come from Mu, the history that we have about Mu, is pretty. I mean, it's very limited in what we have access to right now, and it's there's a lot of stuff that out there that is channeled material, and you have to really have your discernment filters on when you dip into that pool. But there's definitely some information that's come out about Mu that has rung true for me, and I'm curious what you have learned about dragons coming out of Mu.
All right. So the dragons of Mu, this information was brought out through Araya Andra, and it goes back to the story of the 12 primordial dragons that exist on Earth who came to establish the first layer of core on the Earth. And the responsibility of these dragons is that they've seen cycles of civilization come and go, and they've had a part to play in these cycles too. And what they do is, if things are going the wrong way, the evolution of the planet is going the other direction, what they would do is they will shake the planet, and in some cases destroy civilizations, because that's the responsibility that they've been entrusted to.
Fascinating. Oh, wow, I just looked at the clock. We've already burned up this first hour, Ramon. Holy Toledo, that went fast.
Yeah, in the next hour, I want to get into Merlin, too, because you talk, in the book, you talk quite a bit about Merlin and many things I'd never heard, too, as well.
I also want to go about personal relationships with dragons. How do we initiate it ourselves? Can we?
Yeah.
Can just the average Joe out there that's doing his walk and trying to expand his mind, is there something there within the dragon realm for them? And we will dig into that in the second hour. You are listening to Tom and Ramon on the 100th Monkey Radio. We have Russell Chen, and we are looking at his website is messagesfromthedragonrealm.com. And I would urge you guys to pop on over there and check it out. If you
also, before you continue, Tom, when are you expecting the book to come out? Because it's not out yet, or is it?
No, it's not out yet, no.
Do you have an expected date, or not yet?
Well, I'm hoping to get it out probably by the end of next year, at least 6 months to complete the illustrations once the funds have been raised. Coffee table books are expensive undertakings, especially since the illustrators lined up for this book are of award-winning caliber in the field of fantasy art. And the idea is to pair these stories with arresting images to appeal to a wider audience. And because many people are awakening and many are also asleep. So this book is kind of a pleasant alarm clock sort for folks who are just starting to wake up.
You're trying to find something that bridges the gap.
Absolutely.
I like that. Great idea. All right, well, if you're out there listening on the YouTubes, the Vimos, the iTunes, or wherever it happens to land and want to check out Hour 2, you're going to have to go on over to the 100thmonkeyradio.com, and you will find all the information right there. Okay, namaste, my friends. We'll see you in Hour 2. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
The love you deny is the pain you carry.
All right, we'll see you in the next hour.
Freedom's calling, I feel the fire that's deep inside us. Everybody wants change, but tell me who will guide us. To the leaders that pass away, put up your lighters. It's a beautiful struggle, but it cannot divide us. We're the ones that we've always been waiting for. See yourself in the mirror and open up the door. Walk through it and feel the love throughout your pores. Be the light, life's purpose is to feel joy. Metaphysical, lyrical, standing up for truth. The only one that makes change is walking in your shoes. Be the example, don't complain about the news. Making music and serving the world with the loo. Now you can be the same, or you can be the change. Find strength from inside, break through the chains. No one to blame, nothing to prove. You create your reality, it's up to you. Be the change that you wanna see in the world. Like God, we live for peace, aspire to peace. Someone who fights for the beliefs like Martin Luther King. Aspire to peace, that love, that light, like Christ, this life for the moment in need. And if you believe in Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, Christian, it's love to me. My soul yearns for peace in a world that's flooded with war. History's littered with body scars trying to settle the score and maintain an archaic platform of power and greed. People fight for land out of survival and need. So I'm killing my television and I'm planting a seed to fill my head with knowledge that I'm seeing receive. Due to the media propaganda killing my creed. Or what don't kill me make me stronger, feeling straight when I bleed. Fight for interest before it's attached to feet. They try to say you anything in this world, nothing for free. Land, air, fire, and water, they keep up in the ante while the anti-proletariat hold the powers to be. But we keep fighting, surviving and thriving, recycling and rhyming. We constantly inclining, we see through the lying and prying. They happy we keep trying to keep you from asking us why. Be the change that you wanna see in the world. Like God, we live for peace, aspire to peace. Someone who fights for the beliefs like Martin Luther King. Aspire to peace, that love, that light, like Christ, this life for the moment in need. And if you believe in Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, Christian, love to me. We find solutions, different possibilities, creating organizations like Aspire to Be, inspiring young minds to see, building life skills, nurturing creativity, fulfilling the youth's basic needs, listening actively, teaching the tools to succeed, positive role models, we plant the seed, the roots drink the water which feeds the tree, someone help me, giving back to my responsibility. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Like God,